Well, hello scrappers, and welcome back to my channel. I guess this would be about episode 3 of me processing the chips I bought in that eBay purchase. So I'm still working on the first batch of chips, the BGA RAM chips. I've run the first half through, but there was way too much material there, and I had a lot of problems with it. So I've got the other half over here in this bucket, and what I propose to do here is run the other half of the material through my sluice and see if I can concentrate the material some so that I don't have as much to process. There's just too much to process here. It makes way too thick a layer on the bottom of my beaker, and the acids don't get a good chance to contact the material and get rid of the base metals, and the Aqua Regia doesn't get a good chance to dissolve all the gold in there. So what I want to do, I've got my sluice set up, my little mini cleanup sluice that I built, and I've got a video of me building this a while back. Actually, I think it was about a year ago. I think it was. So you can check that out if you want. I'll put a link in the upper right corner. So I'm sitting here, I'm tuning this. I may start out with a much slower flow on the sluice just so I don't blow everything through it. But I do have a catch bucket here. So anything that goes through the sluice is going to wind up in this catch bucket. So it's really easy for me to re-sluice it again if I think I'm losing gold. So I'll probably re-sluice it at least once and see if I catch anything else. But yeah, I'm going to feed the second half of that BGA RAM chip material through here and see if I can just capture most of the gold in the matting in the sluice here and get rid of a lot of the rest of it, the dye material that's here, just so I have less material to process. It'll be more concentrated in gold too. Okay, I got my scoop, I've got the flow turned down. I may turn it down even more because this is fairly fine material actually. This isn't like the stuff that I get from random IC chips. This stuff is actually fairly fine. Not a scoop, but so I'm just a little bit afraid that if I've got too fast a water flow that I will blow gold right out of the bottom of the sluice. Right now it's looking like I don't have near enough water flow, so let me turn it up a bit. Let's see if I can get that stuff moving. Get the ripples cleared out some. So far I don't see any gold, but I know it's in there, because there was a fair amount of gold in the first half of this material I processed. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit more in this second half because it was down on the bottom of the bucket. And the gold tends to sink to the bottom of whatever container you have it in if there's any kind of agitation. We may have to steepen the sluice because I think I've got the water turned up all the way and stuff still isn't moving all that well. Pull this board out and steepen the sluice a little bit. Alright, now it's moving a little better. See if I can see it level. There, that's looking a little more level. Alright, so it's just going to take a while to run this through, but it's going to be a lot quicker than doing, you know, multiple extractions on the material once I've got it in the fume hood. So I'll just have to run this stuff through the sluice a couple of times, see if I can catch the bulk of the gold, and then we'll move it into the fume hood and start doing extractions on it. I can see some other metal in here. I can see a little bit of copper sitting on top of the ripples. The gold is probably sunk to the bottom of the ripples, which is why I'm not seeing it. but I am seeing some copper. I could tell there was some copper in this stuff when I was grinding it up. Yeah, I'm seeing a fair amount of copper. Gold's denser than copper, so I'm sure it's down below. I may be seeing the occasional glint of gold down in the riffles now, after they clear out a little bit. So that's good. I'm not seeing any metal down here at the bottom of the sluice. That's good. All the metal seems to be getting caught up at the top. If the copper is getting caught up at the top of the sluice, I imagine the gold is too, because it's even more dense. But the gold isn't as easy to see because it hides down in the riffles. Being more dense, it wants to sink to the bottom. Okay, this is going to take a little while for me to run all this material through, and then I'll have to let the sluice run a little bit to clear all of this IC chip, all of this dye debris out of here. And then I'll give you a look at what the sluice looks like. Okay, the sluice has had a chance to run for a few minutes. I got the last of the stuff through and I've just let it run. We're looking up here at the top of the sluice by the spray bar. I don't know how well it's showing up, but almost everything up here at the top of the sluice looks like metal. Mostly copper. So I do see the glint of gold down in the riffles in places. But as I go down the sluice, there's less and less metal. We get about to the middle of it, I don't really see any more metal, and this is just bits of dye remains that haven't washed through. So I may let this run for just a couple more minutes and see if I can wash any more of this dye remains out. And then what I'll do is I'll clean out the sluice. I won't show it because I've got videos on running sluices. So we'll clean out the sluice, get everything that's in it out and set it aside, and then I'll run what's in the catch bucket back through it, maybe with a little bit shallower angle or less aggressive water flow, just to see if I can catch any fine gold that may have made it through the sluice. And I got a feeling a lot of the gold is up in here underneath this metal, which looks like mostly copper, almost all copper. All right, so I'm gonna let this run, clean it out, and then we'll run the contents of the catch bucket through again. So okay, I've got the sluice all cleaned out, and here's a nice little comparison. This is what made it through the sluice into the catch bucket. That's what stayed in the sluice. So this is my concentrates right here. So it's just a fraction, a small fraction of what's in this other bucket. So I could easily process this. So what I'm going to do though is, just to make sure I got everything good, I'm going to run this stuff in the catch bucket back through the sluice again, one more time. And you know, there's so little material here that even if I wind up catching a lot of useless junk out of here, still it won't be too much to process, and I will have greatly concentrated the material. So I'll run this through one more time and then do another clean out on the sluice, and then we should be ready for further processing. Let me see. This time I'm going to turn the water flow down a bit. Be a little less aggressive, just in case there's some fine gold in this stuff that made it all the way through the sluice. And I'll just take my time running this stuff through. I won't be in any hurry about it. And see if we can catch any more gold. And clean the sluice out one more time after this is done. And then we'll be ready to head into the fume hood. Alright, this is going to take a while. I'll be back when it's done. Alright, all the material is through a second time. I'm not really seeing anything anywhere in the sluice other than the sandy dye debris. So, I mean, there may be a little bit of gold hiding down in the riffles. It's possible. But I really don't see for sure anything. I mean, there's a couple of little bits of copper that were stuck on the wire grid that I didn't bother cleaning off during the last cleanup. They're still there. But really, I don't see any other metal in the sluice. I'll let it run for a little while and see if I can clear out some more of this debris. And maybe I'll get a look deeper into the riffles and see if I see anything. Okay, I have let the sluice run for a little while, and I don't know if it's going to show up. Probably not. If I can get a good focus. Okay, see one little tiny speck of gold up in there. I don't know if it's showing up. Out in there. But that's it. You know, I'm not seeing a lot of other gold. So it was definitely a good idea to run this material through a second time. And you know, I've done it less aggressively. There's less water flow, so any fine gold that made it through the first time, I'm sure I've caught 99% of it the second time through. So I am gonna shut this down and do another clean out and add the material that's still in the sluice here to the first bucket of material I got from cleaning out the sluice, and then we'll be ready to head into the fume hood and start doing some extractions on it. Yep, got the mat out of the sluice, cleaning everything out of the riffles. Sure, got everything. That looks pretty good. Pour the water off of this and we'll see how much concentrates we've got. Alright, I have transferred the material into the beaker and I'm in the process of giving it a couple of distilled water washes to get the chlorine out of it, because I've been doing this with tap water up till now. I sure hope that is showing up. Can you see the gold in there? It's hard to tell on the viewfinder, but there's definitely some gold in there. And there's a lot less material here. I mean, it's not even going to fill, you know, hardly cover the bottom of a 2-liter beaker. So this should process really, really easily. So that's great. Let me give it a couple more washes and we'll get it in the fume hood and start treating it with nitric acid. So here's quite a contrast. That's what went through the sluice twice. That's what stayed in the sluice. So that's a beautiful thing. So into the fume hood we go. Okay, just like last time, first thing I'm going to do is put some distilled water on this stuff. Need so much this time because we don't have so much material. Get the fume hood going. And there's not like an inch thick layer of material on the bottom of the beaker, so I'm expecting we might have more of an immediate reaction this time when I put in some nitric acid. Yeah, look at it go. Yep. But you know what? I make a mistake here. I'm making a mistake because this blue fluid in the back of the beaker over here, this is from the first extraction, and I was actually going to reuse that because it still has active nitric acid in it. So I'm going to pour this in here. And heat things up a little bit. And we'll see what happens. Yeah, we got a reaction going on. Of course, I did pour a little bit of nitric acid in there, but there was still active nitric in that blue liquid too. So we'll use that up rather than wasting more of my expensive nitric acid. So once the reaction stops with this stuff, I'll put a little more acid in until it looks like the reaction's done for good. Well, it's only been a couple of minutes. I mean, this really hasn't even had a chance to warm up yet. It's still stone cold. And still, look at all that bubbling going on in there. And we got some orange fume production. So we're well on our way here to dissolving all that base metal, which looks to mostly be like copper, out of this material. Oh yeah, look at it. Look at it bubble. Wow. It's going good. Yeah, it's still ice cold. And look at it go. Cool. So, we're well on our way. So I will probably let this cook the rest of the day, overnight, into tomorrow. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive with this than I was the first batch. I want to make sure I get as much of the base metals out of this as I can. So I'll probably be hitting it pretty hard with more doses of nitric acid in the future. There was definitely some silver in that first batch that I didn't get out, and there was definitely copper in the first batch that I didn't get out. I'd like to dissolve them out of this before we move on to the next step, just so we can get a little bit cleaner gold once we get to Aqua Regia. Plus, I'd like to be able to recover a little bit of silver from this. Silver is always a little bit of a bonus. Also, the copper is dissolving in here. This is the source of the copper that winds up in my waste bucket. The cement copper in there, because I keep iron in the waste bucket, and the copper solutions that go in there, the copper cements out on the iron, and I have been recycling that cement copper and casting it into bars, and I'm working on electrolytic refining cells so I can refine that copper. Not so much because I need good clean copper for anything, but because there's still precious metals in that copper. And when I refine the copper, the precious metals wind up on the bottom of the refining cell in the anode slimes, and I can recover them. So that's a future project. It's coming along. I'll be filming that soon. So watch for those videos to come out. Okay, this stuff has been marinating in nitric acid for about 24 hours now. And I put a little bit more in early this morning and turned the heat up. I'm not really seeing any further reaction. I think, of course I've thought this before with this stuff, I think we got the base metals in solution. I'm going to be decanting off this liquid pretty soon, but first I thought we'd do another test for silver. So as per usual, I've got some tap water here. And let me get a little bit of this stuff in a pipette and we'll check it. The plot thickens. Alright, this is a lot cloudier than when I did the test before. After doing the first batch, or the first half of this batch of chips. I think we finally got some silver in solution. Clearly we did not get the silver in solution the first time around because it came out as silver chloride after I hit it with Aqua Regia. So it looks like we got the silver in solution this time, so that's good. I mean, not a huge amount, but you know, there's some significant silver there. I'll try to recover it from this liquid. So I'll try to get the silver out of this solution by cementing it out on copper. The copper will use up any residual nitric acid in this solution anyway and leave me with a nice solution of copper nitrate, which I can use as an electrolyte for my copper refining cell. So this liquid won't go to waste after I get the silver out of it. Okay, so let me get set up. I'm going to decant this stuff off and we'll be ready to treat whatever's left in the bottom with Aqua Regia. Alright, it's time to make some Aqua Regia. I have rinsed this stuff several times with distilled water to get the blue liquid out of it. And boy, I can really see the gold piling up in the lower corner when I do that. So hopefully we'll get as much or more gold out of this as we got out of the first half. So, uriatic acid first as usual. And we don't have an inch of stuff in the bottom of this beaker, so I don't have to use quite so much, which is nice. Put it up, get the heat on. I might see a bit of bubbling already. There's probably some residual nitric acid left in the, I like to call them coffee grounds, in the remains in the bottom of the beaker. So there might be a little bit of bubbling. I'm only going to put about 5 milliliters of nitric acid in there, and that's probably going to be too much. At least I hope it'll be too much. I hope all of the base metals are in solution, and we're not going to have a problem with that again this time. Won't end up with lime green Kool-Aid again, I hope. And we'll just get the gold into solution. We'll see. So I'm just going to let this warm up and cook and see what happens. It's been a few minutes, starting to warm up. Starting to get a pretty good reaction going on in there, a little bit of fuming. So yeah, gold going into solution. That's good. And so far it's not green. Well, it's been a few more minutes and now we've got a pretty serious reaction going on. That's wonderful. And it's still not green. Okay, this has been cooking for a while. The reaction has died down, but I just swirled the beaker around and I can see that there's still gold in the bottom of it. So I'm going to add some more nitric acid to it and see if we can get that gold to dissolve. There's about 2 more milliliters. There's about 4 milliliters. It actually looked like there was a fair amount of gold still down in there. So see if we can get that reaction restarted. Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of bubbling. Yeah, there, it's kind of starting up. Alright, cool. Oh yeah, now it's starting up in earnest. Yep, that's cooking good again. I was wondering if I was going to have to rehydrate it with some more hydrochloric acid, but it seems to be going okay. Okay, I forgot to hit the record button, but I just put a little bit more muriatic acid in here just to rehydrate it a little bit because it's been cooking for a while now. And HCl will evaporate out of it, just leaving behind the water. So I put some more muriatic acid in there to rehydrate it. I had swished it around. I still see what looks like a little bit of gold in the bottom, but it looks like most of it is gone. So that's good news. But I'm going to put a little bit more nitric acid in there, about 2 more milliliters. Didn't look like there was that much gold left. So I'll put that in there. And I'm going to leave this on low heat probably until tomorrow morning because it's getting late in the day and the wife and I are going out to dinner with some friends, so not going to have any more time to mess with this. Hopefully when I swirl it around tomorrow I won't see any more gold in the bottom of it. At least with this little material in the beaker I can see that there's still gold in it. I don't want to have to do 2 extractions on this little bit of material. That doesn't make any sense. I want to get all the gold out the first time. Well, it's the next morning, and for a change I'm getting an early start. So maybe we'll see some gold today. This has been on low heat all night. I put a little more nitric acid in it before shutting down for the night last night. I swirled it around, and the obvious gold is gone, okay? I see a little bit of a band of something that's either a little bit of gold or a little bit lighter sediment. I don't know. I can't tell which. I put a little bit more nitric acid in it. I'm going to turn the heat up and we'll just see if we get any kind of reaction and let it go. I don't care if I've over nitric. I'll just denox it. You know, I just put out a video not too long ago about denoxing solutions, and when I'm working with IC chip debris, my goal is actually to over nitric it. So I know if there's nitric acid left in the end that I've got all the gold in solution, because it's really hard to tell with the gold mixed in with the debris on the bottom of the beaker whether it's all hot or not. So I don't worry too much about over nitricing this stuff. I'll just denox it. let this stuff sit here for a while, see if we get any kind of reaction. If not, I'm going to assume all the gold is in solution, and we'll denox it, filter it, and see if we can get that gold drop today. Well, I got a small reaction going on, minor. I don't know if I'm actually still getting gold going into solution or if I'm just boiling off the little bit of nitric acid I put in there this morning. That's a possibility too, because I've warmed it up. But yeah, I wasn't sure. Might have seen gold in there still. Might have just been slightly lighter colored sediment. So I'll just let the reaction go until it's done, just to make sure I don't have to do a second extraction on that stuff. Alright, it's been, I don't know, an hour or so, and I just swirled this around and looked at the bottom of the beaker. I see absolutely nothing in there even resembling gold, so I'm going to say this is done. So I've turned the heat off and let it start cooling. I will get a solution of sulfamic acid ready to denox it, and then we'll ice it, filter it, and drop the gold. Okay, it's time to denox this stuff. I would not be surprised if there's a fair amount of excess nitric acid in there, because I put some in just this morning, and it's probably still got some in there. So this is my usual saturated solution of sulfamic acid. Oh yes, we've got a reaction. Hope that reaction was showing up on the camera. Not too bad. So there wasn't too much excess nitric acid in there. So okay, good. All right, that's looking pretty denoxed. I think just to be on the safe side, though, I'm going to wash the rest of the sulfamic acid in here out into there, just in case. Now we are thoroughly denoxed beyond any doubt. Time for some ice. Okay, well, I can see right away it's gone a little green. So I guess there was a little bit of copper left in there. So we are going to have a little bit of lime green Kool-Aid, but you know, the first gold drop from IC chip debris is always dirty. But I think we've got all the gold in solution. I really do this time. So we'll let the ice melt. I'll set up for filtration. We'll get this filtered and see if we can get this gold drop today. Okay, time to filter this stuff. And hey, it's not as green as I was afraid it was. I've certainly seen greener. Hey, I've seen greener during this project. So that's not too terribly bad. The liquid's gone a little cloudy too. So we probably got some silver chloride that's come out of solution in it. I may have to filter it multiple times through this to get all the silver chloride out. We shall see. Let me get the vacuum pump running and commence the filtering. Any luck at all, it'll come through nice and clear the first time, but I haven't been that lucky lately. May need some refiltration. We'll see. It's pretty clear. Could probably stand to be clearer, but it's pretty clear. Let me see what it looks like when I got a little bit more in the receiving flask down there. actually look through a significant amount of liquid. We'll see how cloudy it is. Well, I am somewhat shocked at A, how clear it is, and B, how little green there is in it. Because it looked greener than that before, but it's mostly yellow with just a touch of green. And really, it's very clear. So I don't think I'm going to bother filtering it again second time. The filter is loading up with something, but it's taking it out. It's pretty darn clear. So I'll filter all this remaining liquid through and dump the solids in here and let the vacuum pull the pregnant liquid out of the solids, and I'll wash it all with distilled water to get it through. And hey, we'll be ready for a gold drop. Alrighty, I've got all the liquid through. I like to do that first so it doesn't plug up the filter so bad. Then it's time to get the solids in. Get them into the filter. And a little spritz of water to get them incentive to move. Okay. I will clean this beaker. And once the solids are done draining, I will return this liquid to the beaker, the cleaned beaker, and we will drop the gold. I'm just going to let this sit here for a while. I mean, there's not very much material this time. The last time I did this, it took like 45 minutes to dry out the chip remains, pull all the liquid out of it. But I think this is going to go a lot quicker because there's a lot less material here, even though I'm using my smaller funnel. And I will wash all the color out of the filter and keep this up until the liquid's going through clear. And then I'll just let the vacuum run for a while and pull the last of the liquid out of everything. And these chip remains should come out of here almost perfectly dry. The vacuum does a wonderful job. It's already pulled all that water out. Let me spritz it again. I still see some yellow color in the filter, so I'll keep that up till I see no more color, and I see no more color here in the liquid coming through. Alright, this is all well filtered now. No more color coming through. Get any of the good stuff that's splashed up on the bottom of the funnel back into the beaker. Yep, okay. I forgot how dry this stuff was going to be. It fell right out of the filter. That's okay. I will scrape this up and put it in the bucket with the other stuff from this batch. I'm keeping all this stuff now. So many people have suggested that I smelt it. I mean, what the heck? It might be fun. Plus, if I get good at smelting, I can actually use it on gold ore, which I have some of, and can get more of when I'm out west. Got a little drop running down the outside of the flask, but we don't want it to escape because you can tell from the color it's got gold in it. And this stuff really is remarkably clear. Maybe just a very, very slight haze to it. But I'm not going to worry about it, because this gold's going to get re-refined again in the future. I just want to drop it out and see how much there is right now. So, into the fume hood. Alrighty, got the old reliable Bonide stump out here, which contains SMB. There's almost none left in this jug, so I'm going to just dump it all in and then open up a new one and spoon some more in. That's probably not enough. I do believe I see a reaction. Okay, I don't think it needs any more. Alright. think we're good. So we'll just let that go. That was quick. Caught it on camera too. How rare is that? So we'll just let this go and see what settles to the bottom. Hopefully a nice thick layer of gold. Okay, I don't know if it's showing up on the video, but it's only been about 5 minutes and we're already getting some pretty good clearing from the top down. So the gold is settling out quick, which is nice. That tells me it's going to be a fairly clean gold drop in spite of the liquid being a little green. So it's only early in the afternoon, so we'll see how well this settles. I generally like to let it settle overnight, but we'll see. If it settles quick enough, maybe we can deal with it today. Otherwise, tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. Today's New Year's Eve. Tomorrow's New Year's Day. And we have people coming over, so we'll see. Maybe I can work on it, maybe I can't. So while I've been working on getting the gold out of the BGA RAM chips over here in the fume hood, I've been working in parallel on all the other chips. And I've just about got them all ground up and sorted out here into the undersized and oversized fractions. So I'm still working on that. Once that's done, what I'll do is I'll do a gravity separation on the undersized stuff. And then once the fume hood's free, after I'm done processing the BGA RAM chips, I'll start on all this other stuff and we'll see how much gold I get out of it. Like I said, I'm almost done with this. I'm not going to show you a lot of it because I showed you this process in part 1, part 2. I don't remember. One of the earlier parts. We went through this. It'll just be a little different because there'll be 2 fractions. There'll be an undersized fraction that goes through my screen, which I'll deal with just basically like I did the BGA RAM chip stuff. In fact, I'll probably break out the sluice again and run it through the sluice to reduce it. And then there'll be an oversized fraction that won't go through the screen that will be mostly metal, and I'll treat it separately. Alrighty, well, this stuff's been sitting here for a couple days. I didn't actually get a chance to do anything else with it New Year's Eve, and I didn't get a chance to do anything with it New Year's Day. I spent all day New Year's Day babysitting the smoker, and then we had friends over in the afternoon, well into the evening, and well, so this stuff's just been sitting here, but that's okay. It's not going anywhere. We got that nice layer of gold on the bottom I got to get at. So hopefully I can get this cleaned up today and dried out and weighed up, and we'll see how much total gold was in those BGA RAM chips, because I've already recovered 1.67, I think, grams of gold. Oh, there's a little bit of dendritic gold floating on the surface. I'll hit that with a spritz of water and break the surface tension and let it sink with the rest of it. So whatever I get out of here, we'll add to that previous total and see if we come anywhere near my my estimate of 3.5 grams roughly. It looks like there's a fair amount of gold there, so I'm not too worried. I think we're doing pretty good. Okay, so as per usual, I'm gonna siphon off the bulk of the liquid and then give the gold in here a couple of distilled water boils, and then I'll dry it out and weigh it up. Alrighty, so here's the gold after siphoning off the bulk of the liquid. I'm going to transfer this to a smaller beaker and start giving it distilled water boils, and then I'll dry it out and we'll weigh it. And speaking of distilled water boils, the gold has been transferred to a smaller beaker. It's on the hot plate. It's starting to warm up. This gold, in spite of the liquid that it came out of being slightly green, looks like really good gold. The color's nice. It's not really super fine and wanting to stay in the water column. So it looks like it hopefully will agglomerate really nice in these distilled water boils and clean up good. And I probably won't have to re-refine it. That's what I'm hoping anyway. I'll just put it in my dirty gold container, and that'll all get re-refined in the future. So we'll see how this boil comes out. Okay, so while we're waiting on the the gold to come to a boil in the distilled water, and I'm going to start working on something else. This is the oversized fraction from the rest of the mixed IC chips. After incineration and pulverizing them in the blender, this is the oversized stuff. It's a lot of metal here, mostly copper, but there's some iron, and there's some aluminum, and there's some gold in there. Now, experience has told me that there's not a huge amount of gold in here. There is some, and I'd like to get it, but there's not a huge amount. Experience has also told me it's going to take a huge amount of nitric acid to dissolve all this metal. So it's kind of iffy about whether the gold and silver I'll get out of this is worth the amount of nitric acid it would take to dissolve all this. So I think I'm going to try this time going with like poor man's nitric acid. I'll just put this in a beaker with a little distilled water, put some concentrated sulfuric acid on it, drain cleaner, which is pretty darn cheap, and put a spoonful or two of sodium nitrate in it, which is also pretty darn cheap. Put it on the heat and let the acids go to town, and we'll see if we can get all this metal dissolved fairly inexpensively and liberate what gold's in it. Now, I will lose some of the silver as insoluble silver sulfate, but probably not going to get a huge amount of silver out of this. So that's a trade-off I'm willing to risk right now, just so I don't have to use a bunch of expensive concentrated nitric acid to dissolve this metal. So let me get this into a beaker. We'll get it in a fume hood and get started. Alright, cool. Our distilled water and gold mixture is starting to boil over here, so I'll let that go for a little while, then I'll decant off the water through a filter so I catch any fine particles of gold, and then I'll put some fresh distilled on it and give it another boil. It's looking pretty good. It's staying on the bottom of the beaker. It's agglomerating together, so that's a good sign. So over here I've got the oversized stuff in the beaker. So we'll put a little distilled water on it. Turn the heat on before I forget. Get it warming up. So I got some concentrated sulfuric acid drain opener here. Half a gallon of it. It's pretty inexpensive compared to nitric acid. And I have videos where I've used this to make nitric acid and distilled it off. It's nice. Check them out. So I'll put a little bit of this in there. Actually, maybe put a little more than a little bit. Already seeing some sort of reaction. There's something in there that's reacting with the sulfuric acid. Well, that's good. I want to dissolve all this stuff. Now see, I'm instinctively reaching for the nitric acid, but no, we're not going to do that. We're going to put some sodium nitrate krills in there instead. It sort of makes sodium, poor man's sulfuric acid. And yeah, that's a fair amount, but I'll put a little bit more. Whoa, look at it go. Wow. That was quick. I think when I put the sulfuric acid in, it heated it up. So yeah, sulfuric acid going into water generates a lot of heat, and then when I put the sodium nitrate in, we immediately get nitric acid, and we're off to the races, starting to dissolve the base metals in there. Get rid of them. The copper will go directly into solution as copper nitrate, copper sulfate. The iron will get oxidized eventually. It'll become iron nitrate and then get oxidized to iron oxide rust, basically. And a lot of that will actually go into solution. It's weird with these highly acidic solutions what happens. The aluminum, I'm not sure how much of the aluminum will react away. We'll see. But hopefully we'll get rid of the bulk of it too, and we'll leave behind all the lovely gold that's stuck in that stuff, and we'll be able to get it with Aqua Regia later. So this is just going to have to cook for a while. This is ready to be drained and get some fresh water on it, so I will do that. Alright. This reaction has died down a lot, and we're just starting to boil over here. So, but I got a feeling if I put some more sodium nitrate in here, that reaction will revive. So let's see what happens. another little bit in there. Yeah, oh yeah, I'm glad I didn't put any more than that in there. Okay, I think I'm gonna turn the heat down a little bit. I've got a feeling I'm boiling the nitric acid off about as fast as it's being made in there. And it's not attacking the metal as efficiently as it could be. So, just let that go, and it's about time to change out the water again over here. That is some nice, clean looking gold. Okay, this stuff's cooking along nicely, seems to be anyway. The liquid's getting very dark, so there's a lot of metal going into solution. I've got the gold over here. It's had 3 good boils in distilled water, and I'm just going to let it dry out, and then I'll be able to weigh it up and see how much we got. Now what's going on in here, I didn't film it, and I wish I had. The reaction kind of died down. So what I did was I put just a little more distilled water in it to rehydrate it, and then I put a little bit more of the concentrated sulfuric acid in there, and the reaction just took off like gangbusters. It almost boiled over on me. Just adding a little bit more sulfuric acid to it. There must have been plenty of nitrate in there already, because we've got a good strong reaction, lots of fuming, and yeah, it's going gangbusters. So I think this is working pretty good. So I think my next step is I need to get out the sluice, and I need to clean up the stuff from the rest of the IC chips. You know, I've done the BGA RAM chips, all of the other chips that went through the process that had their legs trimmed off, which was nice. They've already been incinerated, pulverized, gravity separated, so they just need to be sluiced. And then I can start processing them in the fume hood too. So I will get the sluice set up and we'll get going on that. This over here, still cooking away. I have not done anything else to it. I am surprised at how strong the reaction is and how long it's going on here. Hopefully it's chewing up all that base metal down at the bottom of that beaker. And it'll leave behind just some insoluble debris and some gold, I'm hoping. Just gonna let it go. Doesn't seem to need anything. Happy enough. Alrighty, it's time to find out how much gold is here. It's all cleaned and dried. Let me get it unstuck from the bottom of the beaker. What looks like a lot. It can be very deceiving when it's fluffy, and it is fluffy too. Wow. Get it all broken loose so it'll all out of the paintbrush. Alright, so it's very windy outside, so I've moved this setup inside so we can get sort of an accurate weight here without the wind bothering the scale. And I'm just going to dump this straight into my gold powder container. All this stuff will need to be re-refined at some point. Oh boy, look at that. Wow. Right at 2 grams. That's nice, because I was only estimating about another 1 3/4 grams, so got a little bit more than I estimated, so that's good. I did do a very conservative estimate on the amount of gold in these chips before I bought them. So I think we're right on target to make a decent profit with these chips. So that's all the BGA RAM chips. So we got what, 3.67 grams of gold out of them, and I was predicting 3.5. So we're a little over what I predicted. So good, a little over what I predicted. Excellent. Oh, that is heavy. There's got to be really close to an ounce of gold in there by now. It was close the last time I weighed it all. So yeah. Sooner or later that'll all get refined and melted down into a couple little bars. Okay, well that's going to conclude this episode. So in the next episode we will continue with processing the rest of the chips. I need to sluice them, and we need to continue with what's going on in the fume hood with the oversized stuff in the mixed acids. So we'll pick up there next time. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to see those future videos. Press the little bell icon that YouTube makes you press to be notified when those videos come out. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.